Hi everyone. Before I start, I would like to do some introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you are staying safe and keeping up with us after Ellen's 45 minutes uh, presentation on international trade, the risk revolving it, and the type of trade and payment method that we can have in the industry. My name is Seanna from Standard Chartered Malaysia. I am the Trade Product Manager for Standard Chartered Malaysia. I've been in the field of trade finance for 8 years with the experience of dog trade, for example, LCBG documentary collection that may be familiar to you. And I also have the experience in open account financing and digital trade finance and also supply chain finance. Yeah. So today we will focus on supply chain finance. Yeah. And feel free to drop your question at the chat room during this session. But before we start, my topic today, I would like to know more about you and your business. So I have prepared two poll questions. I think you are able to see it, right? Yeah, so would appreciate if you could answer it before I begin my topic. So maybe 5 minutes for you to answer. Thank you. I have the poll result already. Thanks for everyone participation with the questions. Now I have slightly better understanding of your challenges. Yeah. So without further delay, let's dive into our topic today. Leverage on Standard Chartered supply chain finance capability for your trade. So before we start, I would like to touch on some common challenges that every business would face during this pandemic, right? So I believe that during the lockdown, not only in Malaysia, it happens like most of the countries. So if your suppliers or your buyers are in different countries or locally, you will face the issue of stocks are not readily available because they are unable to operate, and the price inflation because they have increase of cost in their production. Delay payment was a norm for last year because even the logistic company are facing the issue they are unable to operate. And of course, because of all this, your cash flow will definitely be affected because the demand is affected and your supplies also have been affected. So it actually impacting both sides, right? Yeah, and also lastly, also your counterparty risk whereby your supplier may want to shorten the payment term. They may want you to make a prepayment first or advance payment before they're willing to do the goods, right? So these are the common challenges that everyone face. So based on the poll here on question 2, I see many of you are actually most impacted by cash flow issue, whereby the uncertainties from your buyers not able to pay on time and your suppliers are changing their term, etc., stuff like that. So we all understand that kind of challenge. So today we'll dive into the supply chain finance discussion. Next. Okay, so what we can do in generally from the bank perspective and also as the bank as an advisor to you, what we can advise you if you have not done it already, that you can do something like you have to always keep on with the latest development of your suppliers, be it their country and also the condition of their situation of the pandemic and the political risk, right? So the more visibility that you have, the better prepared that you are. For example, if your suppliers are potentially have the risk of unable to meet the supplies on time, or if you think that the COVID situation over there is a bit tricky, so maybe you have to think of looking for new supplier. You have to diversify your risk, right? Yeah, so after you understand it, you have to do some recalibration. So you have to understand the strengths of your suppliers and whether they are reliable for this period of time. So if the relationship between you and your suppliers are quite good, you can actually do some collaboration and you can engage the bank to come into the picture to see any of the solution can help both yourself and also your supplier to optimize the cost. Yeah, so it's a win-win situation. Yeah, and of course, other than your suppliers, you have to look at your buyer, whether the demand, how is the demand, whether the lockdown will have unexpected reduce of demand or unexpected increase of demand, depending on what goods you are selling. Yeah, for example, the mask and the glove, suddenly the demand shoot up, and the digital devices, the demand shoot up because of online learning and stuff like that. Yeah, you have to think forward because of this pandemic. Everybody have to think forward, right? Yeah. So proactively check with the market demand and talk to your buyer. Yeah, what is the trend? Yeah. And then if the demand is shooting up, then you have to diversify your suppliers just in case your supplier side unable to give you the goods on time, right? Or there may be some country risks and the lockdown risks that may involve. Yeah. So lastly, after you have understand the trend, understand their requirement, then you can check with your banker. This is what I'm facing. My sales is taking longer time to materialize into cash, and I have to pay very fast because my supplier is not willing to give me a longer term because of this situation. So you have to leverage on what your banker can offer you, and then you have to do the check and balance on the cost involved to manage all these challenges. It may be just for a few years, a temporary, or it may be a long term, if the solution that given by your banker is actually also solve your problem before this pandemic. Possible, right? Yeah. Next. Okay. So before I go into supplier finance, I just want to share with you what is supply chain finance. Yeah. So supply chain finance, as you can see from this table, right? You are the person in the middle, right? You have your suppliers, and your supplier also have their suppliers. And you also do have your buyer or distributor to help you to distribute your final goods or final products. Yeah. And they also have their secondary distributor. It could be a retail or it could be a dealer, right? Yeah. So how it works is that when supply chain finance come into the picture by the bank, we are not only working with you, we are working closely together with your buyer and also your supplier. So the bank have to have the view of both sides, and we will try to come up with a solution that can fit both sides. So usually it's a win-win situation. Yeah, so we are trying to cater program that can fit for both sides. Yeah. So from this supply chain finance, is a strong chain to determine lower credit risk, enable strategic relationship between your distributor and also your supplier. Yeah, and then with your influence, we can give some solutioning to help yourself, or you want to help your suppliers, for example. Yeah. Next slide. Yeah. So the overview is that, like I mentioned earlier, when the bank come into the picture, we are not only working closely with you, not like your normal invoice financing and banker acceptance, right? We are working bilaterally with you. No. So for supply chain finance program, it is overall, we will work together with you to understand your supplier's needs and also your buyer needs. And then the solution will involve both sides, either one, depending your requirement is at which end. Yeah. So as you can see from this diagram, we are able to provide financing of the procurement parties in your supply chain. So depending on the payment term, so we can actually do a pre-shipment financing or post-shipment financing for you. Yeah. So the financing actually provided based on the strength of your supply relationship. And also we provide the source of liquidity to your imported suppliers. This is specifically in supplier finance. Yeah, right. So the model here is that, as you can see, Standard Chartered is in the middle. Yourself, we call it the anchor. You are the number one here, always number one to us. Yeah. And the third one will be your counterparties. As I'm talking about supplier finance program, the counterparty will be your suppliers. Yeah. Next. By the way, you can start putting question if you already have. Yeah, so that at the end of the session, I can quickly answer. Yep. Okay. As you can see, there are typical procurement challenges. Be it with your suppliers or is just that the flow that may be a challenge for you. So the challenge could be like your supplier needs early payment. It's just like the pandemic, right? They suddenly change maybe from 60 days term, they want it on like on site basis, meaning pay you pay first and then they deliver, or advance payment, or they cut short the 60 day to 30 days, for example, right? I'm pretty sure it happens during this time. Yeah. And also a high financing cost for suppliers, and it become a high cost of goods sold for you, right? By doing that, your margin will be reduced. So it limits your growth because at this pandemic, you are trying to save money as well, right? Yeah. So with these challenges, it will actually affect your relationship with your supplier. Let's say your long-term relationship suppliers, because of their strategy or their change based on this pandemic, they want to cut short the payment term that they already agree with you. So it in a way affect your relationship even though you all have been dealing for like quite some time, right? Yeah, so it affects the supplier loyalty. And ultimately, also, because of all this, it is restricted to manual based processing if you do not have an ERP system, right? This is one of the procurement challenge. Yeah, if you are on the normal paper base, then you cannot do your recon more efficiently. If you couldn't do your recon efficiently, you are unable to pay on time, right? So this is one of the challenge. Yeah. Next. Yeah. So in Standard Chartered for supply chain finance that focus on your supplier side, we do have two solution, right? One is called supplier finance. Another one we call it trade payables management. So for the supplier finance, the difference between this supplier finance and trade payable management is that supplier finance we will have to sign an agreement with your suppliers. So as you can see from this flow, as usual, you will sign a sales contract with them, and then you usually place order. Okay. Then after that, your after you place order, depending on the term, your supplier will send the goods to you, right? So for this solution is actually working on an open account payment term basis, payment method. Like Alan's mentioned earlier, there are letter of credit, collection, advance payment, and open account, right? Yeah. For supplier finance, it is on open account term basis, whereby you and your supplier may is already in a quite a close relationship. So they are allowed you to do open account to save costs and no need to involve like letter of credit or collections that involve the bank, right? So as I can see from the poll, most of you are very familiar with BA and invoice financing. Then second is letter of credit. So I assume you all are having a quite a good relationship with your suppliers that the open account is not an issue, right? And the country that and the supplier country and your country there's no issue in terms of country risk. Yeah, I would assume so. Yeah. So yeah, it will fit in into this solution, right? Then after the goods receive an order, then you receive the invoice, right? Yeah. So once you receive the invoice, you check everything. Oh, okay, the goods are fine. Then you accept the invoice for payment. For example, the term, you of course for you you want longer payment terms, right? For example, you are asking for 120 days. But maybe due to this pandemic, your supplier is saying that I can't do 120 days, I have to cut it short, maybe 60 days. But of course, this will definitely impact your cash flow, right? It cut from 120 day change to 60 day. So then you can actually discuss this with your banker. Maybe your banker already have this solution, or if not, then you can engage with us. Yeah. So after you sorry back to the flow, so after you have accepted the invoice, right, then Standard Chartered have the capabilities to do the payment instruction via our online portals, straight to bank, or we can also do host to host. Or if you are using Swift for corporate, you can also do that. We can help. We have our technical team to help set it up. Yeah. So once that you have accepted means you are gonna pay, right? So if let's say your supplier asking for 60 days, but you want 120 days, but so we can actually do this financing whereby we will pay your supplier first. Yeah. So on the day that you accepted the invoice, we will discount the invoice and pay to your supplier. Yeah, we'll pay to your supplier first. So maybe with this solution, your supplier don't mind having 120 days because in their book is already recognized. The sales is already recognized. Yeah. Okay. So for your supplier side, we also have the flexibility that whatever invoices that you submit for us, we auto finance for you, or your supplier can also log into our straight to bank to select whichever invoices that they want to do the advance payment, or I call it prepayment, to get the prepayment from the bank. Yeah, there is these two options. Yeah. And then because you are our clients, you have open account with us for this solution. So at the maturity, let's say at the end of 120 days, you will pay us. Then we will settle the financing. Yeah. And this solution actually applicable globally. If your supplier is outside Malaysia, we can also support. And we support the major currency, Malaysia ringgit, US dollar, euro, Singapore dollars. Yeah. Okay. And the key features here is that it's fully automated. You upload the file and we will pay. That's all. No document involved. Yeah, it's all via the straight to bank or host to host or third party platform, for example. Yeah, and then we give the flexibility of your supplier to auto finance, or they can choose. And then when the financing is done, right, the discounting is done, it's actually without recourse to your supplier. So it's a win-win situation. Yeah. And then this is applicable for Islamic as well, not only for conventional. Yeah. So the benefits here is that enhance your supply liquidity and at the same time strengthen your supply relationship. It's a win-win situation, I would say. And also because the payments, everything is via the system, so you minimize the manual processes. It saves your time as well. Yeah. You can pose a question if you have. Yeah. Next. Okay, another similar solution is trade payables management. We call it TPM. Why this solution come about is that it is similar to supplier finance, but maybe some of your supplier that are not willing to sign any agreement with the bank. Yeah, so this may be the solution. Yeah, so the flow is similar. You order from your supplier, and then the goods will ship, and the original title document will send to you, right, to clear the goods. So once you have cleared the goods, then you will accept the invoice, right? As per your agreement with your suppliers. So after accepted the invoice, we will auto finance this or discount the invoices to your supplier. The discounting charge is actually bear by your supplier, yeah. So it's actually no discounting cost to you. Yeah. That's why they have to be agree with your supplier as well, right? Yeah. Then at the maturity, this is very straightforward. Let's say same payment term, 120 days, then you pay us at 120 days. Then we will use the proceeds from you to settle the discount. Yeah. Key features of this is post-shipment and post-acceptance supplier finance. You have to accept the goods that you have received, or the invoices that your supplier sent to you. Then only we can help you to do the discounting. Yeah. So we allow you to facilitate your financing with your key suppliers that you think that is benefits with this program. Yeah. And also this is based on a Sharia compliance concept, commodity murabaha. Yeah. Key benefit is very quick to implement because we don't need your supplier to sign agreement. Yeah, but we do have our specialists that will engage with a supplier. to understand this program. And then you also can negotiate a better payment term from your supplier because they will get the process early. Once you pay, we will prepay to them. Yeah. And also they are able to get a better financing rate if your strength is good. Yeah. And this help to promote your suppliers relationship with you. Yeah. It's a both way thing. Yep. Next. Okay. Just now I did mention about straight to bank or third party platform and Swift for corporates, right? For the payment part. Yeah. So basically, we have the capability with third party platform. We have the capability with Swift for corporates, and we have the capability with file upload, which is not host to host, and also we have host to host. Yeah. So if let's say you are using something like SAP Ariba or Swift for corporates, or you're using TradeShift, something like that with your supplier, then we can actually do a setup together with the vendor, and then we can do the supplier finance solution with the vendor to strict through the to strict through the payment and the discounting with Standard Chartered. This is something that not every bank has it, but we do have this capability. So I just want to highlight our digital capabilities. Okay, next. So on this, I just want to add on an example to you that with the third-party platform, so that you can visualize better, right? So this is you as the buyer, and then you are using SAP Ariba, for example. So we will actually engage with SAP Ariba technical team, yeah, to together on board with this supplier finance solution. So they will do the setup, and your payment will go from your SAP Ariba, okay, and with Standard Chartered involved, and then we will discount the same time and pay directly to your supplier. So it's a strict through process. The intention here is to minimize your manual work and leverage on your SSP Ariba, so that reconciliation can be done directly. So you don't have to do your manual reconciliation, and everything is fetched from your Ariba to Standard Chartered for discounting, and then pay to your suppliers. Yeah, we can discuss this in detail if you have interest. Yeah. Next. Okay, I have two questions here, but I will reply at the end of session because this will be my last slide. Yep. So after all the talking, what are the benefits, right? So like I say earlier, the challenge that you have during this pandemic, right? So this solution may be able to help you to tackle some of the challenge. Yeah, actually we have more products or programs that can help you. Just that today we only have half an hour on this, so I'm just telling you that this may be more critical to the current situation. Yeah. Okay, so the benefits is that, of course, if you improve your suppliers engagement, right? Because you gain visibility of their entire supply chain. Like I say, you have to understand your supplier, right? And then further optimize the procurement term to help your supplier procurement terms. So at the same time, with this financing solution, you can help your supplier to get the cash faster, and then they can procure at their end faster as well. Yeah. And then it supports economic development and the SME. So for example, if let's say your suppliers at the SME space, they require more liquidity with your support. Yeah, this will really help them. Yeah. And then it will reduce costs depending on the scenario here. So lower financing can be achieved across your supply chain because we are relying on the strength of your payment strength. Yeah. If your payment strength is good, the financing cost will also be reduced. And good thing is that there's no discounting charge to you because it's discounted from the invoice payment to your supplier. Yeah. So the discounting charge, or we call it profit rate in the Islamic term, is based on your credit strength. Yeah. And also support for your, this also promote support for your own supplier to improve their trade and payment term. Optimize balance sheet. Yes, definitely it will help to optimize balance sheet because it can lengthen your payment term and also shorten your supplier DSO so they can materialize their sales earlier with our discounting. Sorry. And stable funding source to increase your capital turnover so it may solve your cash flow issue. And then the financing is flexible. So you can discuss with us your requirements so we can actually look into our current features, which one can support your situation more. And lastly is definitely convenience because things can be straight through. Flexible integration, and if let's say you need a third party platform to connect with our internal system for the direct financing, we can discuss further. Yeah, we have the capability. And then for your supplier side, there's no bank account required. Yeah. And then without that bank account, they can actually access to our Standard Chartered portal. Yeah, so which also can help them to establish a banking relationship with us as an international bank. Yeah, and maybe who knows, right? We can cross sell something else to your supplier if they're interested. Yeah, to help them over relationship. So it's actually a win-win situation here. Yeah. So we are coming to the end of the presentation. You can post your question. While waiting for the rest to post the question, I do have two questions here. Okay. One of it is any due diligence needed by the bank on my suppliers. Okay. So if the flow is like that, if your suppliers are interested, you will we will do a roadshow to tell them what is the benefit of this. So they will tell you they are interested after that. Then you have to nominate your supplier to us. So post your nomination, we will have a specialist to engage. We call it vendor management team. Yeah, to engage with your supplier. So she will do the searches at our end, and then because of Malaysia laws requirement, we will have to engage the external legal to help us to perfect the documentation. Because at your supplier end, how we position this is as a factoring, for example, it's like a receivable purchase. Yeah. So the due diligence, if we are concerned about the board resol or the constitution document, yes, we do need it. Yeah, but we don't need them to open an account with us. And we will do the necessary searches on your suppliers. Does that answer your question? If not, you can add on to the question. Yeah. And then another question is the Supplier Finance solution Sharia compliant? Is it available as Islamic finance? Yeah. It is Sharia compliant. For the Supplier Finance is under buyout dying concept. For the trade payable management is under the Murabaha concept. Later, my colleague Alison, she will have 30 minutes and tell you about the Halal 360 that Standard Chartered Bank have. Yeah, so she will touch on that. Maybe you can ask some more in detail on the Islamic side. Yep. If there's no more question, then I will end my session. Thank you, everyone. Hope you have a good day and the rest of the week with MIHAS event for this week. Thank you.